I'm Thom Hartmann, and boy, it is getting weirder and weirder. Donald Trump tweeted out this morning, our beautiful statues are vanishing, or words to that effect. I mean, there is so much going on right now that I just, where to start? So the question is this, is this another Access Hollywood moment or not? When the Access Hollywood tape came out and Donald Trump was bragging to Billy Bush that he could grab women by the crotch anytime he wanted because he was a star and that he loved to do it, and he had to put Tic Tacs in his mouth before he went out to meet that young woman because she was cute, and he just might want to kiss her. It was bizarre, and many Republicans at that point, when that Access Hollywood tape came out, figured, okay, this is it. He is toast. In fact, that was the one moment when Paul Ryan came out and said, nah, this is not us, right? And then, of course, it blew over. It's like Steve Bannon said something. People are willing to put up with a lot if they think that their own interests are going to be served, is where I was going with that. Steve Bannon, when he had this conversation, and I don't think it was like Scaramucci's. The Mooch's conversation with the reporter, there's pretty broad consensus in this town. Consensus is probably too strong a word, but I've talked to a number of people off the record who are like, yeah, the Mooch was probably drunk or high or something, but Steve Bannon probably not. When he called Robert Kuttner, and said, hey, here's what I'm thinking. North Korea? No, we're not going to nuke North Korea. Well, his exact quote was, until somebody solves the part of the equation that shows me that 10 million people in Seoul don't die in the first 30 minutes from conventional weapons, I don't know what you're talking about. There's no middle military solution here. They got us. And he's right. But the thing that got me, and he said that these guys are a collection of clowns, talking about the white nationalists and the white supremacists. And by the way, the AP is out saying, let's differentiate here. White nationalists are white people who think that they should have their own country or their own part of the country. White supremacists are white people who think that they're superior to all other races and therefore entitled to power and privilege as a consequence of that. And they're suggesting that we should no longer use the phrase alt-right, or at least the Associated Press, the AP, is no longer going to use that phrase unless they put it in quotation marks, because they think it sanitizes the racism. And I agree. And the whole alt-left thing, of course, is purely an invention of Fox News and right-wing hate radio. It pretty much doesn't exist anywhere else. There's a couple of message boards that are heavily dominated by people who hate, quote, Bernie bros, and the mythical creature out there. It's not so mythical, but whatever. That use alt-left and have been using alt-left for some months now as a shorthand phrase to trash supporters of Bernie Sanders in the primary against Hillary Clinton. And that has to stop because there is no alt-left. This is just, and frankly, there's no alt-right. There's the racists on the right, and there's anti-fascists on the, well, I'm not even sure it's on the left. I mean, this gets us back to, I had the caller yesterday who said, the anti-fascist movement started with the communists in Germany. Well, of course. I mean, it was the fascists were going after the communists. Pastor Niemöller's, I think it started first, they came for the trade unionists, but then they came for the communists, right? I mean, Hitler was rounding up communists. Of course, they're going to say we don't like fascists. So, but Steve Bannon, what he said is the longer they talk about identity politics, I got them. I want them to talk about racism every day. If the left is focused on race and identity and we go with economic nationalism, we can crush the Democrats. Now, what he's not saying is that if you mix identity politics and economics, which, by the way, is what Trump and Bannon are doing, they're basically saying, You know, all those people of color, they're going to take your jobs, white people. That's what Steve Bannon and Donald Trump are saying. And that's what they've been saying since the, you know, geez, since after the Civil War. And on the left, if the Democratic Party, you know, much like, again, referring back to Bernie during his campaign, he was saying, yes, of course, you know, we've got to level a playing field. We've got to clean up what has happened in the past. We've got to do all this, but we also have to have economic policies that help absolutely everyone. And as long as there's a perception on the part of independent voters who voted for Obama twice and then voted for Trump, and there were a lot of them, as long as there's that perception that the Democratic Party is not interested in their economic issues, but only in the economic issues of specific minority groups, which is not true, by the way, but it's the way that both the media, much of the media, particularly Fox News and right-wing hate radio, and the Republican Party are painting it, then to that extent, Steve Bannon is right, in my opinion. But the question, you know, is this the end of Trump? For 2 days, I've been saying, okay, I think this is it. I think this time is different. I don't think this is like Access Hollywood. I think he's going down. And, you know, we'll see, right? Obviously. But, you know, what is it that he's coming down over? This is the from Business Insider, by the way. The Associated Press limits its use of the term alt-right. At AP, we have taken the position that the term alt-right should be avoided because it is meant as a euphemism to disguise racist aims. That's from the Associated Press. And, you know, Trump's tweet storm this morning. I mean, here's a couple of other things. Publicity-seeking Lindsey Graham. He's going to need Lindsey Graham, right? He doesn't have, you know, if John McCain checks out of the Senate, you know, we don't know how advanced his cancer is or what his treatment options are, but he may or may not be available for a lot of votes coming up. He's going to need every single Republican vote he's got. Or maybe not. Maybe he really is not in this to do anything other than just elevate his brand and then resign, say, you know, screw it. You people don't get me. I'm just, you know, see, that's what I think is going to happen. But anyhow, he tweeted, publicity-seeking Lindsey Graham falsely stated that I said there was a moral equivalency between the KKK, neo-Nazis, and white supremacists. Actually, that's not what Lindsey Graham said. He said that Trump said that there was a moral equivalency between those groups and the anti-fascists. But anyhow, actually, maybe there's a follow-up. And then he said, great to see that Dr. Kelly Ward is running against Jeff Flake, who is weak on borders, crime, and a non-factor in the Senate. He's toxic. These are both from this morning. So here's the President of the United States attacking two leading senators in his own party. How does that play out? Steve Bannon, I believe, made this call to Robert Kuttner, you know, because he wanted to get the word out. The question is, why? It seems to me that John Kelly, who was just obviously very, very disheartened by Trump going off on his rant day before yesterday, that John Kelly has effectively, successfully put a wall between Donald Trump and Steve Bannon. He has become the gatekeeper of the Oval Office, and Trump clearly doesn't like it, and Bannon clearly doesn't like it. And I think that, frankly, Bannon called up Kuttner. This is just my opinion, but I think that he called up Kuttner and said, hey, you know, let me tell you about this. Kuttner, by the way, is the editor. I'm not sure if he's the publisher, but he's the senior editor, the American Prospect, progressive magazine. I think he did this because he's trying to get around Kelly. He's trying to get these messages to the President of the United States. This is Bannon going to the press to talk to his boss, in my opinion. Or he's decided these guys are going down, and I'm not going to go down with them. Which brings us to another juicy little piece of information. Felix Slater. This is from an article over on by David Edwards over on Raw Story. Felix Slater, one of Donald Trump's shadiest former business partners, writes David Edwards, is reportedly preparing for prison time, and he says the president will be joining him behind bars. Well, don't count on that. He has the power of the pardon, and so will Mike Pence when he replaces him. But sources told The Spectator's Paul Wood that special counsel Robert Mueller's deep dive into Trump's business practices may be yielding results. The president had said, I mean, it's possible there's a condo or something, so, you know, I'd sell a lot of condo units. Maybe somebody from Russia buys a condo. Who knows? Sater is the guy who was selling a lot of those condos. And now, and this again, this isn't the Russian government. These are oligarchs who may not have made their money in the most ethical, honest, or legal way, and probably it goes way beyond Russian oligarchs. There's probably Saudi, in fact, we know that there are Saudi oligarchs in Trump Tower and others. Whether they need to launder money or not, I don't know. But what Felix Sater told New York Magazine, in about the next 30 to 35 days, I will be the most colorful character you've ever talked about. And believe me, it ain't anything as small as whether or not you're going to call me to the Senate committee. And there is also word that Paul Manafort has turned on Trump. So maybe he's just like, hey, screw it. I don't care. I'm just going to be me. I'm going to go out in a blaze of glory. What do you think? I think it's possible. It seems like it's entirely possible. Media Matters, by the way, has a great piece. The headline is Trump's remarks defending neo-Nazis were full of right-wing media talking points. And it's not just right-wing media. It's almost all Fox News. Virtually everything Trump has said has been ripped from Fox News, particularly Laura Ingraham and Sean Hannity and Fox and Friends. This is, you know, John Kelly, General Kelly, if you are listening, the thing you need to do is not control access to the Oval Office, although that's not a bad idea. You need to take Fox. You need to call whoever's providing cable service to the White House and tell them to block out the Fox channel. And then maybe Trump will start behaving rationally. But right now, as long as he's believing a propaganda channel, we're all in big trouble.